We have a fundamentally different approach to identity. We see identity as the quest for rightful identity, and we use different pieces of technology to get there. So AI, biometrics, and you can start looking at like cybersecurity, ethical hacking, and all that kind of stuff. And we have a pretty cool office space in Liberty Village. At BioConnect, I'm the director of AI and Security. I've been leading the technology roadmap of the company since day zero. My educational background is from Sheridan College, Lakehead University, and I studied AI and big data at MIT. And unfortunately for all of the Apple fans, I'm a hardcore Windows guy. Except for the technical issues, I can't fix that. To kick it off, I want to give you guys a definition of context and what it means to me. Context to me is really the use of background factors, circumstances, data to form the setting of an event, statement, or an idea. For example, color is. Well, it's color red. But you know that because somebody taught you that. Somebody that you trusted taught you that was the color. But what happens if they taught you it was green or blue? Well, the same logical steps apply to identity. I'm pretty sure you guys can identify the first person, Steve Jobs, and the second person, Donald Trump. Now, what about the last person? Alright, well, some of you understood it. The really question is, the people that did, they had context. They knew about blockchain. They knew about cryptocurrency, Ethereum. Well, you're right, that's Vitalik Buterin. He's the co-founder of Ethereum. I have that context because I've actually been to a couple of talks. I'm interested in cryptocurrency and well, blockchain is really cool tech. But if I asked my mom that question, she'd have no idea who that person is. So the same applies. And we can build on this. Now, identity systems of today, they're very binary. They use cards, passwords, they use pins and keys. That's how they identify you. They give you either a yes or a no, 0 or 1. That's all they attribute to. And some are more modern systems are starting to use multiple data sets. They're building a culmination. They're creating a token to identify you. And this data set is using location, time, devices, your username, your password, and even biometric data. That information is important, but it's also growing. And it raises an interesting question. What data do we use and do we not use? Privacy is a pretty big concern, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And AI is another extension of that. Like my colleagues are saying, you're collecting all this information. We have cars that are collecting all this geolocation data, acceleration, temperatures. Well, our homes are doing the same thing. Our watches, our phones, even our social lives, even the way we go grocery shopping now that Amazon Go launched. Like, it's incredible. But this amount of information is actually building a stronger identity for who you are. And these models need to have formal machine learning applied to it so that we can start processing this information, start identifying us with another level of models for us. And to give you a good example of this, recently I got this notification from Facebook. Somebody decided to use my account in Seattle, or Redmond. No idea why. But they asked me the question, is this you? Their machine learning algorithms were using this information to decide, is this really you? It's a challenging question because they had the location, the time of the transaction, they had all my information, my username and password is used. Well, let's continue to build on it. In the previous example, if you said yes, cool, that was me. I did go there. So that's another piece of data. I probably did travel at that time. Now Facebook knows that. And the same can be said for the opposite. If it's not me, well, I'm going to flag that location. I'm going to flag that IP, the transaction. I'm going to look at every little possible nook and cranny to make sure that it's valid. That leads into another form of identity. We're building stronger and stronger models of who we are. And these systems are growing. And to take a deeper dive into it, you have to have supervised and unsupervised learning. You need to apply both forms. In the form of supervised learning on the right here, for example, it's the individual transaction. You look at it as because the ones in the circles in the black are the trusted transactions. We know those are valid. We can trust them. But the ones that are red X's, we're not sure. We're not confident in it. So we're going to ask for additional information. We're going to flag it just in case and monitor it in the long run. Well, in unsupervised learning, this is where you start looking at the system holistically. Every little nook and cranny, every transaction that takes place, period. False or positive. And you start clustering them, grouping them. The ones that are invalid, the red X's, those are the ones that you're going to have to specifically look at and say, hey, that's probably coming from a certain location or an IP. I don't really trust it. I'm going to continue to flag it. I'm going to continue to ask for step up or confidence until I can trust them. This system then leads into another question. What about security? Look at Equifax, actually Madison, Target, those are all centralized pockets of information. They have so much of your identity information sitting inside of them. They have a massive bullseye on their back. And in order to protect against that, you need to start thinking about decentralization. Get that information out of there, put it into multiple systems, trust them, provide proof, and at the same time build on that. Evolve in your model, continuously challenge it, and validate it, and make it a smaller set. I'm going to leave you with you guys with a few questions. How do we allow the system to continuously evolve and build these models over the course of time so they can continuously adapt at adapting or identifying you? 10 years ago, we didn't have mobile phones as things that we can do today. How do we identify ourselves then? Username and passwords. 10 years from now, we probably won't have cell phones anymore. So, what are we going to use then? Our models have to continuously build on them. They have to continuously evolve. Our AI has to learn to adapt to how we operate in our different environments. That is the challenge. Second question. How is our digital identity interacting with our rightful identity? Right now, when you guys go online and you buy stuff, you punch in your credit card number and you think, hey, that's great. A piece of plastic identified you. It said, yeah, that's you. I trust that. What if you give your credit card to your friend? The system still thinks it's a credit card, still thinks it's you. Is that valid? These types of questions, they keep me up at night, and they really do challenge me during the day. And, well, you guys can come up with some answers to this, but I honestly don't know some of the answers. And just to recap, we covered off context, the identity, how we leverage data to do this, and machine learning. All of this is focused to build out context-based machine learning and how it applies to identity and AI. Thank you.